Hello and welcome to Resource Review here at the Science Museum in London. We're your guide to the latest and most innovative resources for your classroom. Today we're focusing on primary maths. Our subject specialist recommending today's resources is Lynn Glover. Lynn taught for 11 years in primary education at both Key Stage 1 and 2 and worked for 5 years as a primary numeracy consultant for the London Borough of Greenwich. She's currently a primary mathematics consultant for 4S, a provider of educational services. Alongside Lynn, we have Jared Brading, a deputy head teacher at St Mary of the Angels Primary School in London. Jared also teaches gifted and talented pupils. And finally, we have Adrienne Jones, a prominent freelance education consultant and former primary school teacher and LEA advisor. Well, thank you all very much for coming. Lynn, as our primary maths expert for today, you've chosen the 3 resources that we're going to be discussing. Tell us a little bit more about this first one, Grid Magic.
Well, Grid Magic is a Key Stage 2 graphics programme. It's putting together art, mathematics, thinking skills and ICT. It's not actually focusing on any new mathematics strategies, but it does develop children's use of mathematical vocabulary. Well,
thank you very much. To see the resource in action, we visited head teacher Rob Gilby, and he runs a Grid Magic Lunchtime club.
Grid Magic is a piece of software that links both art and mathematics. In that it takes mathematical skills the children may be learning or may already have, for example, symmetry, translation, reflection, tessellation, and enables them to use them in a concrete real-life situation to produce pieces of artwork, such as the ones you can see on the wall behind.
You start by choosing what size grid you want. Like the maximum is 160 by 160, but it can go down to 2 by 2.
It's brought us many other benefits as well in terms of teaching the children ICT skills that we've found to be transferable across many areas in IT. The children are used to designing graphics in one programme and then importing them into Word or Publisher, and they can see how the skills and the techniques they use in Grid Magic can then be used across different range of software. One of the things that is great about Grid Magic is that children of all abilities can produce something that makes them go, wow, or it makes other children go, wow, how did you do that? Which gives a great sense of satisfaction to the children that have produced it.
So we used the symmetry technique to make that, and actually it's turned out brilliant.
While it predominantly is, I would say, an artistic resource, it's a great way for them to use their math skills in a concrete real-life setting.
Lynn, if I can come back to you first. We saw it there, a very popular resource, but being used very much for the artistic side. How effective is it for delivering maths?
I think it is more for an artistic side, and I think the important thing is to actually get creativity into mathematics, because I think this is what has been lacking a little bit in the last few years. So it's nice to see maths taught in a creative way.
And do you think that's still an effective way for the pupils to learn maths?
Well, I think they need to be doing something where they can see some reason for doing it, so there's some end result at the end of it.
OK. Jared, the ICT level involved with Grid Magic seemed quite high. Could you see that in use in your school?
Yeah, definitely. I think that most children are pretty good at ICT now. They surprise us and they lead us in most ICT lessons. They're far above most of the average teachers' knowledge these days.
Adrienne, what were your thoughts about this resource?
I thought it was interesting that the teacher was using it in a lunchtime maths club. I just wondered what that suggested, that lunchtime maths can be fun and that it wasn't used within a maths lesson in other parts of the day. Although I do know a teacher who started using it, and she was saying that initially with her Year 3 children, she thought it was too complicated, and then she worked with a few of them on a one-to-one basis and realised that they soon got the hang of it. Like Jared said, you know, the ICT skills are picked up very quickly and often surprisingly for adults. And then she used it with the rest of the class and it was not a problem at all, and the children loved doing it. And she did that in a maths lesson one morning.
So Lynn, this is a relatively expensive resource.
It is.
So how would maths teachers really value it sort of in their daily maths classes? Is it really worth it?
Well, it can be. I mean, what we saw in the video clip were the children using the mathematical language, and I think that was really positive. But there are lots of other resources on the market as well, and as Jared was saying, you can do it in other ways as well. So, I mean, some of the schools I think will feel that they can do it, and if you've got an ICT suite, which is what we saw there on interactive whiteboard, then it's going to be a good use. Might be a good use of resource.
A few curriculum coordinators would get together. I mean, the art teacher would be, the art coordinator would be very interested in the programme. The maths coordinator might be interested in the programme, and the ICT coordinator would be very, very interested. But mathematically, it's quite limited, isn't it, really, to a specific area of mathematics. But the art and the ICT potential of it is fantastic.
Adrienne, the information that comes with Grid Magic claims that it'll make Picassos out of the least artistic and mathematicians out of the reluctant. Would you agree with that?
The combination of ICT, maths and art is an interesting one, and one that's, you know, pretty creative. And I think if an adult enjoys looking at a resource and wants to use it, then it could be good.
Well, thank you all very much for some good discussion there. We've just been discussing our first resource for primary maths, which was Grid Magic from Q4 Technologies. Now let's move on to our second resource, which is called Primary Games. Lynn, tell us a little bit more about this resource.
It's mainly focusing on children recalling number bonds and different number facts. And a lot of the materials are actually on the website, so people can actually look at them first before they decide to buy the materials, and I think that's quite a positive idea.
OK, well, before we hear what the rest of the panel think, let's go back to the school and see the resource in use with teacher Julie Wilkinson.
The games fit in really well in the national numeracy strategy, and they relate really well to the scheme that we use to help teach our maths. We use Abacus GIN scheme, and it works really well with that. I was using Spin to Win today, and it was looking at children where to put the hundreds, the tens and their ones, so place order of numbers. So you've got a 4. Are you going to put it in your ones column, your tens or your hundreds? Close to your test straight away. There's 2 teams, and I felt a good way to do this was to split my whole class up, use their number fans so the whole class is interactive. Each child spins the wheel, and then they choose where to put each digit, whether they're going to choose it to put in their hundreds, their tens or the ones. OK, team 1, off you go. Some of the games link with the objectives that we're teaching at the beginning of a lesson. So each week when we do our planning, we can look at the objectives we need to cover and then choose a game, because there's lots of different games. Choose a game that fits in directly with the objectives that we're covering that week. Can we make it into an even higher score than 856? Brandon? 865. It's a lot of fun for the children, and a lot of them feel that they've not actually done any numeracy today, and I think that's the whole part of it. And the smiles on their faces, the interaction, the teamwork, working with partners, it's just fantastic. The games are really good. They can be used cross-curricular, certainly with the literacy strategy as well. We've got spelling games on there, word-building games, which is a really useful resource to use as well. A really well-developed resource that you can use as your intros to a new topic, to help enhance a topic, and your plenaries at the end of each lesson. It's also a fantastic resource that you can take away and use in your ICT suite, so all children are on task at once.
Well, Jared, that's clearly a very fun resource, but does it have much depth?
There's a lot of different number work you can do with it. You can do division tables work, you can number bonds to 50 up to 100. There's lots of different number skills you can use with the programme. I think the teacher on that particular video shot used it really creatively by having the 2 teams of children working against each other. I think it does require a bit of thought to get the most out of it. I've seen it in an IT suite where 30 children are just playing the same game and the teacher's sitting down having a cup of coffee at the front. But you know, to get the most out, the teacher has to think about how she's going to use it creatively. They've got great games on there. The children like the visuals. a bit of thought needs to go into it.
Right. Adrienne, seeing pupils up there at the whiteboard using it for whole class teaching, do you think there's ever a danger of humiliating less able pupils in that context?
Well, I would hope the teachers would always tailor what they do to the sensitivities of the children they're teaching. But if you look at the little girl, certainly on the left, she was having a great time. And I think the thing about having a whole class lesson like that, particularly the way she used it in teams, is that everyone's involved and everybody would actually want to do it. You know, they'd be keen in that sense. And because the teacher had enthusiasm, that would translate itself to the children.
It was great on the interactive whiteboard, wasn't it? It was great to see that there on the interactive whiteboard. And the teacher would choose a child with sort of some care to come out and do the particular activity. You wouldn't just pick them out of the blue and hope for the best. You can differentiate with the work quite nicely on that on the programme, and then differentiate to who comes up to use it. So it's actually really good, a very inclusive piece of equipment in that respect.
And also children could go up in pairs, so you would get away from having somebody unsure.
That's right.
Then it strikes me that with both resources, it's important to input some fun, some creativity, some just enjoyment into maths.
Yeah.
And this one seems to do it particularly well.
Well, I think this one does, and this one's very specific because all the games are linked to specific learning objectives. So the teacher can really look through and think, this is my learning objective, and so this is a really good game that's going to match my learning objective, rather than the other way around. So that's how it has to be seen.
That's right, and we talked about it as a plenary, didn't we? I mean, it's an excellent plenary just to pick up whether children have learnt the particular area of mathematics you were talking in the main parts of the lesson. So it's a really good sort of quick assessment tool for that.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you all very much. Now let's move on to our third resource, something a little bit different. The latest offering from the Murderous Maths series.
It is.
The Perfect Sausage. Tell us about this one.
Well, this is a fun book. I think the whole of the website has got lots of little puzzles and things for children actually to sort of to discover the fun out of maths. And this book actually backs up what's there. So this one here, the latest one, is looking at different formula and having stories behind it so the children have a reason to enjoy learning mathematical formula. This is aimed at upper Key Stage 2 as well and into Key Stage 3. Okay. And the formulas sort of developed are for those more able children at Key Stage 2.
And you mentioned there the website, so that's for the pupils to go to the website, but then possibly getting the book as
I think they'd get this
follow-up.
afterwards, yeah. The games on the website are free and anyone can actually access them to a certain degree. And they're all sorts of different puzzles to solve, tricks to play on your friends, calculator games, all sorts of things to amaze. But the book actually goes into a bit more depth. Okay. So that would be for sort of more serious mathematicians, I think.
Well, thank you all very much for some really great discussion there on primary maths resources. Just to recap, the three that we discussed were Grid Magic from Q4 Technologies, Primary Games from Interactive Resources, and lastly, The Perfect Sausage, part of the Murderous Maths series by Scholastic. For more details on all of the resources discussed in today's programme, or to post your own comments on primary maths resources, you can go to our website. That's teachers.tv/resource review. Or if you like, you can email us, resourcereview@teachers.tv. So all that remains for me to do is to say thank you very much to our panel for today, to Lynn, to Jared and to Adrienne. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Resource Review. Bye-bye.